first take place in this session. President Francois.
Rotarian, please be standing. And please for Rotarian Forum to pray.
Let us pray.
Our Father and our God, we come before you once more, thanking you for another opportunity where we can come together to discuss business. Father, we thank you for concerned individuals who are here to make contributions to literacy in this country. We pray, Lord, that all the things that we may do and say here will be beneficial to each and every one of us. We ask also, Lord, that you bless the food that we are about to partake of, that it may be nourishment to our bodies. Bless us all as we partake of the fellowship one with another. Bless our endeavors and bless everything we do. In Jesus' name.
If you want to follow me on the 4 meters of the thing we think, say, and do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? You know, I mean, to oppose winning country? Winning country? For the time being. Rotarian guest visitor. Today's program that is a little bit special. You realize we're not in an usual venue. We're going to have a presentation of a project that we have been working, especially our vocational service have been working real hard on. And we're going to see what has been achieved so far by the person in charge. I believe the meeting is served, so guests first, please, to the buffet table, followed by Rotarian. Sorry, let's start in this.
Very large number of guests, which I'm hoping that I won't be asked to call them individually, but whom we welcome. And that gives us a percentage of just over 50%, 53% of attendees. I don't have makers, but we do welcome and appreciate the presence of the number of guests that we have today. Thank you.
Thank you, Rotarian Basil. I'm now calling on Fellowship Chairman to update us on the status of the club, Rotarian St. Clair.
President, Francois, guests, benefit of our guests. In a regular weekly meetings, we look to supervise the first 3 to 4 days, who died, who about to die, and so on. Carefully. Tomorrow, Mr. President, members, will be the birthday of Carmen Allen, the wife of our host, Reverend Allen. We wish all the very best in the birthday. We won't have to say it, but please inform us next time of the age. Before the day, January 29th, will be the birthday of Dr. Peter Kampala, a member. His days multiplied in the African language. Next Monday, believe it or not, the Rotarian was born many years ago. He was hatched and conceived. Believe it or not, the birthday of our President called December. The following Tuesday, the 1st of February, will be the birthday of Pat Camijon, the wife of Lord Paul Camijon. And same day, will be the birthday of Ruth Cash, the wife of our secretary, Lord Cash. We observe that our Cash is bald-headed. As they say, all bald-headed men fall under 3 categories. Those wanted in front, the great figures, those wanted back, the great lovers, And those I thought were front and back, they think they're great now.
Thank you, Past President Sinclair. I would like now to introduce the keynote guest, which is Rico Jones, that whom we're going to hear a little bit more, or a lot more, in the course of this program. Is there any excuses? Okay. Now, Rotarian with guest, please introduce your guest.
President Francois, I have two guests. Arnaldo Bailey from St. Kitts Editions.
What's the first name, sorry?
Arnaldo Bailey from St. Kitts Editions. And B.T. Marston from St. Vincent better known as Ashley Marston.
President Francois, Rotarians, invited guests. My guest today is Christine De Silva of Quickprint. And I'd like to publicly thank her for her contribution every year in our Rotary directory. Thank you,
Hanalo, Ashley, Levin, Christian, I hope you're going to enjoy the fellowship with us. I'm going to now hand over the rest of the introduction of this program to the lady that's been behind this entire project and the very reason why you're all here today. So I would like to the rest Rotarian and maybe the guests to give a warm welcome to Rotarian Lisa, which is the director of vocational service. Rotarian Lisa.
President Trishul, fellow Rotarians. Today we have President Trishul, fellow Rotarians. Today our invited guests are from the Adult Education and Continuing Studies. We have Mr. Stan George. We have Mr. Rock. And we have Ms. Francis Clark. Also from the curriculum department, we have education officers in literacy, Mrs. Hannah Brown. Ms. Hannah Brown is also represented from the Ministry of Education. And we have Ms. Alvin Jack. We also have with us today representatives from St. Clair Secondary School. We have Ms. Anne Chrysler. She's also a Peace Corps worker. We have Mr. Dunstan St. Luce. And Nina Fuller. And we also have with us Mr. Junior Calvin.
You could introduce the guest.
That's it for all guests.
Okay. But you continue on with the program. You take over for me.
Okay. Well, I'll just give a brief introduction on our Academy of Reading software. On Thursday, December 2nd, the Rotary Club we launched our literacy project in Georgetown. This project was sponsored by the Scotiabank, right? As well as the first in September 2010, a grant of $41,750 was of the academic reading software for the school. And this software provides students with a targeted, highly effective literacy intervention solution that is research-driven and is designed to help struggling readers of all ages and abilities master the fundamentals of reading. It is expected that hundreds of secondary students would benefit from this program, and there are plans to use this software as well to remediate students in the Youth Assisted Project at the Marion House in Georgetown, and for all adult remediation as well. The Rotary Club of St. Vincent location, we also have other literacy projects this year, and I have to say, Mrs. Lavinia Gunn, she's also an invited guest. She's here with us today, and she's assisted in sponsorship through the Mustic Charitable Trust. And we want to thank Mr. Basil Alexander, who's also with us as a representative from Scotiabank, for sponsoring at $41,700 So today, Rico Jones, who's a Peace Corps worker attached to the Georgetown Secondary School, she's going to show us how this program actually functions. We'll go through the details with us, and we'll see how it works. I hope you can enjoy the presentation.
All right. I told him I probably didn't need the microphone. I'm a loud talker, so I'm pretty sure you guys will be able to hear me. I don't want to take any of the. I'm sorry.
Oh, release this to the camera.
Oh. Okay, so I'll tone it down. Oh, it's too loud. Okay, I'm sorry. Is that better? Yeah. So I don't want to take any of the credit for the School Specialty Inc. software that's at Georgetown Secondary. It's completely Lisa Casino and the prior volunteer, Shannon Lincoln, who was stationed at Georgetown Secondary School prior to me coming in October. So I basically just picked it up after Steve and I loaded all the software onto the computers. So I'm just stepping in, but the big part was Lisa and Shannon actually getting the software and installing it on the computers in Georgetown. Now I'm picking up their slack. I'm running behind those two. But the School Specialty Inc. provides intervention not just in reading but in math as well. I know I have up here the Academy of Reading, but there's also an Academy of Math, and we'll go through both sides. The math program actually is better. The teachers say that it's actually better because the students go up grade levels much faster than they do even in the reading. The wonderful thing about the program specifically is it allows students to do something different in terms of literacy intervention. It allows students to work at their own pace, and you can adjust the pacing, you can adjust so many things as a teacher utilizing the software for your students, whether, again, they're adults or they're children. I'll go over the agenda, but we're probably going to move a little fast because I know Francois wants to make sure we have plenty of time for questions after. But the main parts we're going to go over are, of course, an overview of the program, which, like I said, School Specialty specializes in the intervention of remedial students in math and reading. They do a lot of research, seeing how children's brains work, what works best for children's brains in terms of retaining information. Getting started as an instructor. That's probably the most important aspect of the program because the instructor controls the entire program for an entire class. The children can't even log in without the instructor first setting up every student in their class, as well as setting up your classroom structure, your grade levels, what you want them to practice, what type of tutorials you want. So the instructor portion is very, very important. Managing classes and enrolling students. These are all things, again, that you do hands-on as a teacher. You literally log in and you create a class within the system. Super simple. And by the way, all of you are certainly welcome to come to Georgetown if you'd like to actually play around with the system and test it and create classes of your own. I know Frances actually participated in the training we had a couple weeks ago, and she was able to create a class of her own. And it kind of helps with seeing the results of the program. When you help the students get started and you review their test results, these are all user interfaces specifically for the teacher. Only the teacher can log in and see your specific students and how well they're doing and how to help them train themselves. The comprehension section, it follows typically a pre-test and helping students with phonemic awareness, phonological awareness, and success is determined two different ways with the program. One of the ways is using trophies, so children feel successful immediately. They earn trophies very quickly, and they have to actually complete puzzles in order to have success. And there's also some classroom materials that can be used to show a child's success using stars and bubbles and all types of other incentives. Now, typically, students who are in reading interventions year after year oftentimes will only go up 1 or 2 grade levels in whatever intervention program you're using. The wonderful thing about the Reading Challenge with Academy of Reading specifically is students can increase 2 to 3 grade levels within weeks. You can have a child who does 3 to 5 hours of Academy of Reading training and tutorials, and you can see an increase in their reading in terms of grade level within 6 to 8 weeks. So the program moves students through pretty quickly, and the students, again, get to see success fairly fast. The research that the specialty team uses, again, is based upon how children's brains retain information. They look at core developmental stages for students learning reading. And by targeting a child early, and again, secondary school, because it starts at first form, is not really considered early. Certainly, students from the age of 5, meaning pre-K, all the way up through education, can use the program, but ideally you want to start the program with a child who's as young as 5 to 6 years old. Early intervention. Also, in terms of at-risk students, which would again be the students at Georgetown Secondary, at-risk students are able to build fluency in the foundation of reading and math. And when we say fluency, we mean students are able to understand and develop and move on very quickly and become fluent in whatever specific program they're working on, whether it be rhyming, whether it be, again, phonemic awareness, or whether it be students are able to start to comprehend and understand what words actually mean. The automaticity of the instructional design refers to students who are able to look at words and recognize them very quickly. Seeing words like the, is, and. Maybe they're not even understanding how to pronounce the word completely, meaning individual sounds like t, but they can recognize a word very fast. That's one of the core competencies of the Academy of Reading. Automaticity. Motivation, again, positive feedback. We have trophies, and then we also, again, have classroom materials where students can see their progress on a board, and students and teachers can work together to show students how well they're doing on a day-by-day basis. This refers to, again, whole brain learning for students. I'm not as familiar with what areas of the brain all these are. I know the purpose one is the most important. Some days saying numbers are more important than words. But Again, they look at whole brain learning for students, and they target that when they're putting together the core competencies of how students can feel successful and receive a trophy for completing one task on the program. The tutorials. So if we were actually in the lab right now, the very first thing a student would see after you set them up and put them into the program, meaning again their name, their age, what grade they're in, simple stuff. The very first thing the student will see would be either a test or a tutorial. Typically, the students who are at risk and who are behind, we don't like to test them because we want them to feel successful. So there's a way teachers can actually log in and omit students from having to take it. They can say, we don't want the students to be tested at all. We want them to go directly into the tutorials where they're learning new skills. Once they have a tutorial on a specific skill set, again, whether that be rhyming words or listening skills, it takes them directly into a practice. The practice is the most important part of the program. The practice makes them do things over and over again, skills, just by pure repetition. And again, during that practice, it allows students to create their own pace. The students and teachers work together in terms of the teacher can see if a student who is performing well, but their pace is super slow, you can log in and you can speed up the pacing that you expect and anticipate from them. The pre and post test benchmark, again, that's something that teachers or whoever's running the program, is a judgment call on your part. We at Georgetown, we don't like to pre-test the students solely because we don't want them to not feel successful. The lowest grade level that the pre-test will give, I think, is first through third grade. So if you have a student who is, let's say, in first or second form, but their reading level is at K5, kindergarten, 5 years old, you don't want to post system with information that's first and third grade. They're going to feel like, I don't want to continue with this program. I don't understand anything. So again, there's a way that you can log in and have all of your students not be pre-tested or post-tested. And you can also change it at any moment. You can say, guess what? I now feel these students are at a level where I want them to be pre-tested. I want to see where they are. You log right back in and have them take a pre-test or a question. The testing, if you do decide to do it, is basically looks at the first 3 questions that they go through, and it kind of assesses them very quickly and starts to give them either higher level questions or lower level questions. Again, with the idea of them feeling successful. It measures the performance below basic, basic, and advanced. Typically, I've seen in the program, advanced doesn't necessarily mean they're above grade level. Usually means they're right at when you see a student who's advanced in this program. You're also able to see a specific level, and it's based on the forms. So if it says level 8, L8, or L7, they're talking about 7th grade first form. L8, 8th grade second form. So you're able to see pretty quickly again what level that student is on, and as well as the gains in terms of, again, that automaticity and how quickly they're able to assess the information. The steps to reading proficiency, and this is something that I didn't even know as a person who I feel I read well. I feel I comprehend well. The part about phonics and decoding and sound symbol association and it being automatic. I always felt that I knew what words meant solely because I had a pretty immense vocabulary. Lots of students, you'll think, are able to comprehend reading, comprehend specific stories, or comprehend sentences just because they can read it. They may not be able to comprehend if they know those words, either based on automaticity or based on simply memorization. You see a word enough and someone tells you that word means and, you just know it. Comprehension is core to proficiency. I have students, and Ms. Lincoln, if she were here, she actually showed it to me. We had students read a poem that was very simple. And then we go back and ask them very simple questions about the poem. Let's say it's The Cat in the Hat. What's the poem about? Who's the main character in the poem? The students couldn't answer, but the students could read the entire poem. Comprehension is so important. One of the key components of reading proficiency for the Academy is comprehension. Having students understand what words actually mean. Once you give a student comprehension, now you've given them intrinsic value to reading. Now there's a reason I want to read. I want to read about a specific subject. A student may want to read about a specific character. A lot of the boys at Georgetown Secondary love anything that involves killing and animals. The boys love that kind of stuff. And that's great because that means, again, they're placing some value on books and reading, which is ideal. But again, this is something I didn't focus on. I wasn't really aware of. Comprehension. Students who can read but can't comprehend. One more thing. Phonemic awareness, something else I wasn't as familiar with, are little things like being able to distinguish sounds from letters. Knowing that when you see a C, the sound for C is K. Knowing that when you see a T, the sound is T. That is phonemic awareness. Some students, just because they see a T, they may have no idea that a T means T. Phonemic awareness is core to phonological awareness. Phonological awareness refers to students who are able to distinguish and recognize sounds and blends. So going from a T and a P for P to a the, TH, or going from a G sound to a blend of pr. Phonological awareness is very important in learning the English language, but phonemic awareness is most key. This is a sample of what the program actually looks like when a student first logs in. So the first thing they see would be their locker room, and they're able to make changes. The students are able to actually kind of design what they want their locker room, their academy to look like. So again, giving them some options, giving them choices. The second thing they'll see once they click on Classroom is the practice. The practice tells them what they're going to do. All of these little bubbles are sounds. So there's N there. So once they click and put their mouse on the N, it provides an N sound in their ears. So now they can use visual and audio to know what an N means, phonemic awareness. Then they're able to match that sound with another word or sound that sounds similar to it, and then select it. Try to keep it super simple because, again, the program can be used by 5-year-olds. Letter sound matching and sound match training are two of the basics that the program goes over first. This is what students will see as they get the questions in the practice correct. So there are puzzles. The blue box refers to a wrong answer. When the students get a right answer, they get a full picture of the puzzle, clear. This picture's kind of grayed out a little bit. That means they got the answer right, but it was maybe on the second try. So students are able to see different pictures and puzzles as they go through the program. The puzzles also get bigger and they get harder, and teachers can modify that. Again, you can log in and you can say, this student continues to get all of the questions wrong. I want that student to slow their pace. I want that student to go over it 3 more times before they can move on to anything else. You can also say, this is too simple for this student. They're getting them all correct. I want them to move on to a puzzle with maybe 16 squares to uncover instead of 4. You can make all of these changes by logging in as a teacher. And we try to keep it fun. Like one of the pictures I saw just yesterday by a student, I didn't even know it existed in there, was of a panda. I thought it was kind of cool. I haven't seen any pandas on the program yet, but yesterday I saw one. That was kind of nice. And students will know each other's progress because they'll say, hey, I haven't seen a panda yet. So they know this student is either far behind them or way ahead of them because they're seeing different pictures and different ones. Okay, so this is what some of the, not necessarily reporting, but some of the areas where a teacher can go in and modify the results, a student's practice based upon their results. So if you look, the green is the benchmark. That's where you want students to be. That's at usually 75%. That's the default. That means they've gotten 75% of the questions correct in the training. If they get more than 75%, of course it goes up. If they're less than that, then they have not met the benchmark. And it lets you know what questions they've gotten wrong. And the students can go back over those questions if they like. If a student does not meet the benchmark, automatically, once they're done, it makes them do the whole thing all over again. They have to meet the benchmark. Teachers, if you notice that your student is continually not hitting the benchmark, again, these are the times to log in and make modifications, either to pacing, either to the automaticity, or either to the puzzles. Make those changes. Also, time on task. This is important. Students who don't spend a lot of time on task, who are playing around, they're not looking at the screen, they're talking to their neighbor. You as a teacher can see that. It'll show you. Time on task, 1 minute, and then underneath this one, if you have a student who finished the whole thing and went through and got all 4 correct in their results, it'll also show you how long it took them to finish and complete the whole thing. So you'll say a student spends typically 1 minute on task, but it took them 3 hours to finish the whole thing. That's odd. That means they're not being consistent. Their pacing is off. Again, these are times to log in and make changes to that student's progress. This is a sample of one of the visual match trainings the students will see. Again, it's very, very simple. Students are able to learn the basics first and then move on to much more difficult reading and comprehension. There's also in addition to the auditory visual match training, there's also a way for students to speak, and the computer assesses the students' use of diction in the way they're pronouncing the words, which can be a little tricky for Caribbean students, but there's certainly no harm in learning the different ways to pronounce a word. But again, students are able to not only listen to sounds, but practice those sounds through the headphones and hear themselves back. Again, the core competency focuses on reading comprehension, accuracy and pace, and mastering a specific skill. Again, sound matches, visual matches. Once those skills are automatized, students again move on to master higher order tasks. And believe it or not, the program goes up to the 11th grade level on both the reading and the math. In the word recognition skills, we use lots of pictures, and the accuracy averages between 75 and 85%. If you notice a student who's at 90%, you need to move them up, because the average is 75 to 85, and a student who's pacing ahead of that, you need to make some changes. Students can be non-accurate and automatic, or accurate and automatic. Ideally, you want them to be both, accurate and automatic. Non-accurate sometimes means a student is just not paying attention. They're not focused on what they're doing. Accurate, but not automatic, means it just takes them a little too long to finish simple tasks. So this is a sample of a student who is not hitting the benchmark. They're not accurate at all. And it shows them all of their errors. They're spending a lot of time and they're still not accurate. So this slide shows you for consonant, vowel, and vowel consonant letter patterns. This student is not only hitting the mark, but they're actually receiving trophies. Once you see these little diamonds, that means the student is doing excellent and more than likely is receiving an incentive once they're finished with the practice. This student is accurate and automatic, even though they're spending a lot of time, 8 minutes, which is a while. The student is 100% accurate. This would be a student who I would either move on or I put them at another grade level. So we're moving pretty fast, and it's automatic. So this is a sample of some of the different stories or pictures, puzzles that the students will see. Moths and butterflies, violins. And students have to go through all the tutorials, trainings, and practices for each one in order to receive incentives. So it takes a while. It takes hours. reading proficiency. The trainer who came and did our training at Georgetown Secondary, she explained this tree to me. I'm still not quite understanding what metacognition is, but there's a tree, and the next slide is going to be the roots. But in terms of reading proficiency, she mentioned that vocabulary should be higher up on the tree because, again, when a student has better vocabulary and understands the definition of words, they're going to comprehend more and they're going to be more interested in terms of, again, intrinsic value to reading. The roots of the tree. This goes back to, again, the way that the program has been set up, phonics and decoding and phonemic awareness being the most important, as well as being able to comprehend silently. Those are students who can read without going through with their fingers, word by word by word. Students who can read silently without moving their lips. That's success for the kind of reading. Behavioral motivation. Each skill, mastery learning, train each skill to a high level of accuracy and move students up the developmental continuum. Believe it or not, a lot of the students, specifically I have students in the class 1 room 7, which is first form room 7. Some of them are repeaters, but believe it or not, when students, again, master one skill, receive a trophy, and move on to the next one, they want the entire class to know. It could be one of your worst students or one of your best students, but they want the entire class to know they are moved on to another puzzle or another level of instruction. Mastering the learning and students moving up with high accuracy, very important, not just to the teacher, but also to the student. They also make sure that they begin instruction at level of ensure success. That's what we talked about, that pre-test and that post-test, and omitting it, making sure that you're putting a student at the proper level so that when they first get in the program, they automatically feel like they're getting successful, they're getting trophies, they're getting questions right, and they're moving on. Also, tangible evidence of progress. Students are able to, again, see the pictures of the puzzles. They're able to see their progress step by step, question by question. I think it gives them about 5 questions before they move on to something else. They don't have to do 30 and 60 questions before they see something different or before they see whether or not their questions and answers are right. The way students are motivated. So we have certificates and we have trophies. The students care most about the trophies. I don't know why. They don't care anything about them. But the trophies are given once a student masters a specific skill, whether it be, again, audio-visual match, just visual match, any of the skills that are in the program. They have to go through all the questions, each tutorial, all the practice before they get a trophy. One trophy allows them to once they master a skill, they get one trophy, they get to go into a specific room. The last room is called the staff room. Every student wants to get to the staff room. I think Francis was at the training that we had. Our trainer mentioned that she couldn't understand what the big deal was with getting to the staff room. All the rooms are the same, they just have different names, but all the students want to get to the staff room. I think they think they're going to see something special. Once they get to the staff, they're going to see the staff or something, but they all want to get to the staff room. There's also a way to create incentive programs on your own besides trophies. Again, classroom materials, we have a big chart where you can list all the students' names. You can use stars, you can use halos. One of the things that Lisa and I talked about doing is rewarding the children with books or with gifts, toys. I'm giving out candy next week for the student that receives the most trophies. And they're able to track their own progress, not just on the computer, but on an actual piece of paper that's posted on the wall. Celebrating success is very important in terms of motivation. Your role. This is what you will see once you register your class as a teacher. You'll see your student's name. You can see the last time they logged in, of course. You can see what skill they're working on. You can also see their progress and whether they're on trial or practice. T being trial, P being practice. I'm sorry, T being training, P being practice. The arrows. If you see a red arrow going down, it means the student is not progressing sufficiently. Certainly the green arrows mean they're progressing very well. You can click on each of those arrows and get more information about how well they're progressing. But this is a snapshot, and it's something that teachers can go to and quickly see how well a student's progressing. You don't have to log in and go any further than this just to see how well a student's performing. You can see it very quickly. Also, if you notice, all the students are hyperlinked with their with the underline under their name, which means you can actually log into that student and make changes to either their password, their name. At any moment, you can make changes to each of the students in your class. Performance levels and snapshots. So if you look on the left margin, you'll see that you can look at gains, you can look at test results, and you can get a snapshot of not just your student, but how the student performs against the rest of the students in the class. That's also important because if you have 6 kids who are performing 3 grade levels lower than the rest, that's something you need to look at to get all students on the same path. So if you notice, again, it's super simple, not difficult for teachers or instructors to manage. This is a progress report for one of the portfolio programs, which allows students to read into the microphone. So you can see what types of progress they're making in the portfolio program. That comes a little ways into the program because certainly we first want students to get some phonemic awareness and some comprehension. Scheduling. Typically the program suggests 3 to 5 sessions a week, 20 to 30 minutes. We do last term we were doing 2 sessions, 2 hours a week. It's not a lot. Certainly the more consistent you are, the better the students will perform. It's important to have at least a target. And I'll be honest, we have so many people that want to use the program at Georgetown that we are not getting the students in getting them as much time in the lab as we'd like. But ideally, you want to get the 3 to 5 sessions, 20 to 30 minutes per session. I think right now, last time we had them 2 hours a week. This term we're doing like an hour and a half per week per class. That needs to be increased, but because we have so many people interested again, it's tough. Okay. You guys go ahead and read this paragraph. You guys done? Done? Okay. I'm sorry. This is a test. How many F's are in the story? F's.
6. 5.
Got 5, got 6. 6. 6 or 5? 5 or 6? 6?
7.
7?
Yes.
Great.
7, 8?
8, yes.
9 F's? Going once? Going twice? 9 F's. All right.
Deleting out the F's.
I'm sorry?
Deleting out the F's.
How many F's were there? 9 was the last one, right? There are 12.
Yeah, you leave out the F's.
But I'm French.
So, I think I got like 5. I think I did see 9. So, you know which ones you forget?
Your brain doesn't.
The ones you
think
don't.
of.
These are the ones you forget. Yeah. The U's. You said it. The U's. So get them. Automaticity. You don't even see them. You guys are experienced readers. You just go through it quickly. You know what you're reading. You comprehend me without even reading certain words. You're just moving through. Right? This is what we want students to do. We don't want students to, I would, ill, never. They have no idea what they read when you read that way. The way you all read, understand quickly, but you omit F's. You omit F's. But automaticity is so important, again, in terms of comprehension. Students have to understand what they're reading to enjoy reading. Right? What was the story about? I didn't ask you guys that because I figured you may or may not pay attention to that. Again, that automaticity. You just quickly perusing, quickly perusing. I don't even know who wrote it. I don't even know what that story is about. All I see are F's. Dinosaurs. And I've looked at this thing like 10 times. Struggling readers. We have a test that Shannon actually had found where we can test how well students read based upon one-letter sounds and based upon guessing. We go through certain words. I think we start off at first grade level. There are words like and, the, bigger, hit, set, words like that. When you see a student who quickly runs through those words at the first grade level, and then you take them up to their grade level, and they struggle per word, and then all of a sudden, after the second or third word, they know a word like nighttime, or they know a word like approximately. These are readers who are guessing. They've seen the word enough, they've heard it enough, so they're guessing on these words. These are ways where you can tell if a student is struggling. So you can give a student, let's say a poem that has some pretty difficult words in it, right? And they just roll through it. This student doesn't have any trouble reading. They're fine. Have that student read some words that are not quite as hard and they struggle. You know that they're either guessing or they're memorizing words. And they certainly don't comprehend either. All right. So that's just some contact information and resources for a specialty skills team. I'm going to quickly go over the math. How are we doing on time? We're good on time. I just want to show you guys the math profile, and then it's exactly like the Academy of Reading, except with math. Okay, so Academy of Math, again, same principles. Looking at students who are struggling, intervening, taking them and giving them core principles so that they can make it up to algebraic equations. Sample questions. Word problems and fluency in foundation skills. I'll tell you again, lots of the teachers and the trainer who came to train us at Georgetown, again, mentioned that students struggling in basic math were able to make it to algebraic equations faster than students who were struggling in reading and who were able to make it all the way up to comprehension, reading comprehension. So the math program, a lot of teachers think is better than the reading program because the students can move even faster. I went through it myself and I felt smarter, I did. After only about, 20 minutes, I felt like I knew more algebra. Core math principles. Now, I'm not a math person, but I tried my hand at Academy of Math, and I felt successful. I started off at pre-algebra, level 8. I'm ashamed to say that's 8th grade, but I felt very successful when I made it to 10th grade algebraic equations in about 20 to 25 minutes. So I think, again, the math program, students can see success even faster. I am living proof. I haven't done pre-algebra algebra in a very, very long time. Similar to the Academy of Reading, the math program allows students to do tutorials. This tutorial is basically, again, just tell the student what they're going to be working on, explain to them how to use the program. However, with math, instead of with reading, where they go through comprehension and awareness, math looks at terms, operations, and actual problems. Terms are very important, so I learned it when I went through the program. A lot of those algebraic and geometric terms, I don't know what they even mean. So teaching students what specific terms mean is very important. And it allows students to actually graph, which I thought was pretty awesome. Okay. The skill areas. Again, word problems are twofold. They're teaching students how to read, and they're teaching students, well, I shouldn't say teaching them how to read, it's having them practice their reading, and understanding how to decipher mathematical equations and problems from words. Very important. Of course, operations, calculating, and using terms, understanding what the question is before you can even answer it. So, very important. Like I said, it certainly helped me. With the math program, they have the read aloud tutorials, which I think are even better. You can use a read aloud tutorial with the Academy of Reading as well. I just think the read aloud is more effective with the math side. So a student doesn't have to necessarily sit there and look at all those numbers. There's a person in their ear explaining to them what they're looking at. And sometimes that helps the student stay on task. This is just going again and showing you how the tutorials and the testing works. I think the pretest is more important on the math side than I do on the reading side for one reason. On the math side, it's super important for a student to be able to at least understand what the question is. With reading, you can kind of fudge it with a question and try to just guess at the answer. With math, you don't even know what the question is. You can't get through it. There's absolutely no way you're going to get the question right. So I suggest a pretest and post-test for the Academy of Math. Again, everything's self-paced. And games are able to be seen by teachers. When they use the placement test, you're able to obtain a benchmark for your students. So let's say you have several students who are at the 3rd grade level in math and several students who are at the 5th grade level. You can maybe see that the benchmark's right at 4th. Usually with math, students tend to, again, move quickly from grade level to grade level. So I think, again, the placement test is more important on the math side. Just like the reading, the test adapts after 2 to 3 questions. The test will adapt to how well the student is performing. Let's say it's 2 plus 2, and quickly the student knows it's 4. You're going to notice the question gets harder, even on question 2 or 3, if they answer the question in 10 seconds or 5 seconds. It's going to measure their performance very quickly, just like with the Academy of Reading. Again, this is just showing you a snapshot of your students' progress. It looks just like the reading program, very similar. Oh, this is important. The little blue man with the comment box next to his face, that means the student cannot log back into the program without teacher intervention. That means the student either has not even started, the student has timed out 3 to 5 times within like 15 minutes or 10 minutes. The student cannot continue until the teacher makes an adjustment to their program and speaks to the student. So whenever you see this on your student, know that if you have them coming to class and you're logging in before the class comes in, the student wouldn't be able to log into the program at all. So you'll have to take care of this before they speak. This means teacher intervention. Teacher has to log in first before the student can log in. Again, another snapshot of the math. It shows you not just their level, but it lets you get even more granular with the results. So if you notice, it shows you the percentages of the program that the student has completed. It shows you their time in the program and their time on task. Very important. Very important. 257 and 201, that's pretty good. That means the entire time in the program they're doing something. And this is great for students who are going to be coming into the lab without you. So let's say for the adult education side, those students who are going to be in the lab on days where you're not there, you can log in and kind of see what they've been up to and how well they've been performing. Again, same thing. 3 to 5 sessions, 20 to 40 minutes on this one, I'm sorry. For struggling kids, typically, I know it says 17-year-olds with math disabilities have a 5th grade level of math knowledge. I can speak to that because I was only on A, and I'm way over 17. The learning plateau. The learning plateau typically happens in the 7th grade. Isn't 7th grade about the time you start getting into algebraic equations? This is where most students start to struggle. Algebra. And again, the Academy of Math goes up to 11th grade level, 5th form level, just like the Academy of Reading. So students are able to go pretty in depth into advanced algebraic equations. All right, I think that's it. Does anyone have any questions? Questions? About the program? Like I said, everyone is welcome to come on up to Georgetown to log in and play around with the system. I feel like the program would be best served if every student in St. Vincent had the opportunity to just use the lab. It can help students who are not just performing poorly. It can also help students, I want to pull back up the Academy of Reading to show you, a student who is at grade level but is able to take themselves above grade level. No.
Is there any question for?
Yeah, a question. We have a lab schedule right now in Georgetown, but we're certainly willing to change it to accommodate anyone who wants to come and play around with the program. Play around meaning you're able to not only see the snapshots and games like you're seeing here, but you're also able to actually log in, create a class for yourself, and you can that'll be your class. Like, it's not just a test student or a test teacher. That's your class that exists on the Academy software. And you can start adding students at your whim. You get a chance to not only, again, just see these slides, but actually see how the program works, log in, make changes. Have another person come in and take a test and then look at their results. It's super simple. I think when we did the training with Avenel, who's with School Specialty, it took the average teacher 6 minutes to log in and create 3 students. So you can log in and create 3 students in 6 minutes. It's very fast, very user-friendly, very simple.
Historical data. Is it retained and or downloadable? I mean, what happens to the results and the programs that you have to be set up for class?
Yeah, so I'll show you. I wish we could have the actual computers here with us so that you can see how you can log in and download. You see that reports tab at the very top? That reports tab will give you the opportunity to condense this information for an entire class and look at how each student is performing against each other with historical data under that reports tab. You can get as granular as you want. You can decide how much time you want to look at, what time frames with dates, what specific skill, whether you want to look at pacing. You can choose whatever options you want to look at and pull the data into a spreadsheet. And yes, it's downloadable and
Excel?
Excel.
Colin?
Also, there's a way, and if you didn't want to put, let's say you have 60 students, which are some of our classes, I think I have 50, that's the largest class I have in Georgetown. There's a way to create a macro within Excel and list your students and all of the different options that it asks you when you're creating a student, and upload that specific spreadsheet so that you can save yourself some time. So if you have 60 students, you can actually put all 60 in at once by creating a spreadsheet with a couple of macros. So it's pretty easy.
Yeah. More President Francis will show you just not a question, but just a comment. I was just wondering whether when President Kennedy actually started the Peace Corps, I know he knew he would have had some good ambassadors to the U.S., but I really think Rico, this young lady, has been fantastic, and he would be very proud of her. Very eloquent.
I'm not a speaker, and I speak quickly and fast. I was trying to speak slowly. But thank you.
Is there any other question for Rico? If there's no more question, your presentation has been so comprehensive that I believe all the areas of shadow that could have been there have been covered already. Don't take that from or maybe they will want to come to your lab to understand better. So they'll be able to ask the question after. I don't know. So I'm gonna ask Past President Joe to officially give you a vote of thanks for your presentation.
Thank you, President Belton, fellow Rotarians and guests. Thank you. By way of background information, you may not know a lot about what brings Rachel to be with us today, but we know that she's a Peace Corps volunteer, of course. Her own background, her own speciality is in online advertising. I like the sound of that. She was doing a lot of advertising today, I think, for the program. Community development and education. And she comes to us from Los Angeles, which, as you know, at the moment is in California, but if they have any more earthquakes in that area, it may be in the Pacific. It's very pleasing that she came to tell us all about this program with such eloquence, as Past President Oliver said there. But additionally, it's relevant that we're not just talking about literacy in terms of words, but in the math side, because we know that there are people like myself who, when we were at school, the teacher would say, well, what's 3 plus 1? And you say, well, I don't know this. They say, but come on, 3 plus 1 equals 4. And the child gets confused like I did and say, but no, miss, last week you told us 2 plus 2 equals 4. So it's good that we have ways of overcoming those little glitches and in a modern way. Now, the Peace Corps have actually been enacted since, I think, 50 years, as Past President Collins said in President Kennedy's days. Peace Corps has been in St. Vincent and the Grenadines for 47 of those years. So we have been one of the early beneficiaries, and we've continued to benefit tremendously since then. And as has been said, Rachel's presentation has been excellent. It's been very clear. The fact that she speaks quickly, she's only been here 6 months, and by the time she's been here for a 2-year stint, we'll be ready to give her a second term. Is that the popular expression at the moment? So I'd like to say thank you on behalf of Rachel for all that she has done in regard to this program, and also all that she's doing for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Thank you very much, Rachel.
Thank you, Past President Joe. I want as well to make a special thanks to the press. I want to underline the fact that without the press, those programs cannot be spread out, and public or the corporate sponsorship won't be able to know what is being done underground in this country, which is quite important to get finances for those kind of programs that are not cheap, let me tell you. So thank you very much for taking some time off on your busy schedule. Press members, feel free. And you too, you have been with us a long time. And to our guests, to see how this program is functioning all the time, and maybe get more interest on it. And I see the ministry representative here. Maybe to see if there is a potential partnership with us to get to the country license, which is going to provide all the schools with this kind of reading, the Academy of Reading and the Academy of Math. At this point in time, I would like to present our guest speaker with a certificate of participation to our regular meeting. Thank you very much for taking some time and present us. present us with this. Thank you so much, Rico.
Thank you.
In the interest of time, you have been participating to our normal Rotary meetings. This meeting that we're doing every Thursday. We don't usually have that amount of guests, but there's usually the Sergeant at Arms that is going to discipline the club, and the club members have been real bad over the meeting or over the week. In the interest of time, we're going to skip that part and close. I just want to inform the member that this is not. I'm not letting you off the fine because you have always a fine to pay on a Thursday, but we're going to double it up on next week, Thursday. So don't get so happy. I see all the smiles and all those things. The fine will be paid next Thursday. So, in the interest of time, let me now close this meeting. Toast to RI, Rotary International. And please, if you want to face the flag, we're following your lead, past President Jones.
St. Vincent, land so beautiful, with joyful hearts we pledge to thee our loyalty and love, and vow to keep you ever free. Whatever the future brings, our faith will see us through. May peace reign from shore to shore, and God bless and keep us true.
Amen. Good tempo, guys. Next week we're doing the same, huh?